Before we get started with today's episode, I want to talk to you all about something I'm very, very excited about. We have a new sponsor on this podcast, and that sponsor is Wedflow. John, have you heard of Wedflow before?
Just a couple times because you won't stop talking about them. I mean, literally every day, it's like, Wedflow this, Wedflow that. Nick loves this company.
It is true. I have been, before they signed on as a sponsor, I've been using Wedflow for about 4 months or so. If you have no clue what Wedflow is, they are an online digital delivery system for your wedding films. Okay, some of you, we see questions in our Facebook group all the time. How do you deliver films to your clients? How do you get it to them? You know, that sort of thing. And Wedflow is your answer. Okay, I know John, one of the reasons that he switched to Wedflow was because of his old system of delivering in.
Hey,
John, why don't you talk about that for a second?
So here's the thing. I'm charging a premium for my weddings. And so I never jumped on the train of other companies. And for some reason, like I've just always delivered via Dropbox, just a link. It's ugly. It's not branded. And what Wedflow is basically the luxury version of delivering these products, delivering your digital products. And so moving into the new year, I wanted to be able to represent my brand completely across all platforms instead of just delivering a YouTube link or a Dropbox link. Wedflow does it all. It makes it seamless to fit into my website. Everything about it is so easy and makes it very, very presentable for our couples. I love it, and I can't wait to show off my 2020 brides Wedflow.
Yeah, so in Wedflow, what you can do is you can brand all of your content. So you have your logo on it. You can change the colors. They've just added custom fonts, so you can change the font so that it'll fit your style. You can, one of the big things that I actually is my favorite thing about Wedflow is it is pay per project. So that means that you can only use it sparingly. You're not paying a massive subscription fee for a year's worth of stuff, and you're only using half of the content, half of your gigabytes, half of your upload. So you actually pay per content. Pay for your content. You're not locked into a contract, and you're paying per gigabyte, and they have deals the more that you need. They can deliver in 4K, so you can upload 4K and deliver 4K. It is great. You can embed the finished product on your website if you want to do that, or you can do private links that are password protected, so that the only people that can open them are the people with the password. Anyway, I am a huge fan of Wedflow, and like I said, before they sponsored us, I've been using it for a few months. I am so excited to have them on board. If you would like more information about Wedflow and what they can do for you and your business, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedflow.
Is that the torch LED little ad?
Yeah, that is.
There it is. Okay.
This is also my butt. For the rest of you watching online.
Is this a How to Film Weddings first?
No.
Oh no, this is not a first. Okay. This is not a first. Oh gosh.
What if I just the rest of the podcast up here? Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and do we have a treat for you today? Not only is my good friend Nick Miller with me, but we just did something really cool. Nick, tell our friends all about it.
So a few episodes ago, we did a whole podcast on mentorships and the importance of them and how they have really shaped, my business and really impacted my business. So John and I, we offer them from at howtofilmweddings.com/mentorships, and we wanted to actually give one away to a lucky listener, and we did that.
Yeah, we did.
We gave Monika Garland Productions a free mentor session. She was the one that won. And so we thought it would be really cool to record that mentor session as a podcast. So today, as a bonus episode, you will get to hear our mentor session with Monika. And if you are interested in maybe doing one day, this is kind of the format and how we like to go about it.
Yeah, it went a little long, which is great. I think it's, we answered a lot of questions down to basics of color correction and audio, to bigger questions and theory with marketing and packages. And so she was able to just kind of pick our brains on anything, questions that she had. She's been in business since February. I think that's what she said.
February of 2019 was her first
she's
wedding.
been in business for like 10 months. She's done 15 or so weddings. She's got 20 or so booked next year. So just being able to hear from somebody, ask us questions, get that information. So really, really excited about like just the questions, the way they were answered. I think it's really good content, whether you're new or you've been doing this for a while. So let's do this. Let's jump in to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. All right. Well, thank you so much, Monika, for joining us as a guest on the How to Film Weddings podcast. Do us a favor, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How long have you been shooting weddings?
Okay, so I'm Monika. I'm from actually Canada, but I'm now based out of Virginia. So been in the States now for 11 years, just became an American citizen. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Doesn't have anything to do with my wedding business, but thank you. So I am based out of Forest, Virginia, Central Virginia. So kind of in the middle of Roanoke, Richmond, Charlottesville, right in the center of everything. And I filmed my first wedding in February of this year. And since then I've done 15 weddings, and I have 3 more coming up in December. So really busy, working a full-time job as well. So it's been fun, really fast journey, learning everything I'm doing, just super quick, thrown right in there. So it's been fun.
So why weddings? What got you into this?
So I actually work full-time. My full-time job is in front of the camera, hosting a TV show, which I love, for a local TV station. We go around doing business promotions, nonprofit events, things like that. And I would get increasingly frustrated that I couldn't do things behind the camera. I was seeing what people were giving me and I was like, man, I would have shot it this way. I really wish we had done it from this angle. I wish we had a little bit more B-roll, things like that. And I absolutely love weddings. When I was planning my own wedding, I had a really awesome videographer. Shout out to Iron and Ivy Films. She did an amazing job, and she kind of was like, hey, if you ever want to do this, because I know you're in media, like let me know. And she really gave me a ton of great information, helped me get started. And I was like, yeah, this sounds fun. Let's try this one day. And never actually thought I would. And then a girl at work was like, hey, I'm planning a wedding and it's super low budget. She has $300 for a video. Would you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I guess this is my chance. So I was quickly researching all kinds of equipment, and just had a month or 2 to get things started and did one wedding. Not super proud of it, but hey, I don't think anybody is super proud of their first one, but I've learned a ton since then. And I was just hooked. I loved it. The adrenaline, the excitement. I love being in control and editing. I absolutely love the whole aspect of the entire day, and then all the behind the scenes as well.
Nice. And so you said your first one was this year in February. So like 10 months ago, 8 to 10 months ago,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. And you've shot 15 so far, and you've got a few more to go. What are you charging at the moment?
So right now my base price is $14.50,
Okay.
and then up to $22.50 for the all-inclusive ceremony, toast, the whole package. And I was
Nice.
just listening to your package podcast, so I'm going to be making a few tweaks. But yeah, so it's $14.50, $17.50, and $22.50 are my
Okay.
3 packages.
Cool. And we'll dive into some more stuff. Nick, I know that you're excited about this because today we're doing something a little different. Monika is doing a mentor session with us, and we said, hey, what would you think about us recording this and turning it into a podcast? We think it would be helpful. And so she took the hot seat. She said her hands were a little sweaty before we hit record.
They still are.
So thank you for doing this. I know there are a lot of listeners out there that, would be nervous to come on and talk and everything. So we promise we've never lost a patient. We're going to be nice, but we wanted to give you the chance to kind of flip the script, ask us questions about your business. And so, we want to just go ahead and get right into that. So if you're ready, if you have questions, go ahead, hit us with them. This is a mentor session. This is how we do it. howtofilmweddings.com/mentorship. Yep. If you're interested. So Monika, take it away.
Okay, so wow, this is weird. I feel like I'm in control of your podcast now. Let's see what we can do.
Okay,
you better be good.
That was
You're
quick.
in charge.
That was quick.
Better make it good.
Wow, she
Okay,
was in
so
charge for
first of
2
all-
seconds.
I feel like, first of all, my biggest, not obstacle, but challenge would be my website. I kind of built it on my own through Wix, and I would love some feedback about what you guys see. I know that's kind of hard for a podcast, but sort of maybe some tips about making sure the website looks professional. I feel like it kind of looks like I built it myself. So at what point would I maybe hire somebody else to help me with it? Or what are some practical things I can do to make sure my website is just looking clean and simple and professional?
Nick's website's awesome, so I'll let him answer that.
Okay. As I have this pulled up right now, I am looking at it, and actually I will say, for someone that has been doing this since February, having a website, like, I think that this is very well done for where you are in your business. It's pretty simple, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think, you have it really cleaned up. You have a big video, header at the top. For those listening and watching on YouTube, you might not be able to see this. Anyways, I like that you do have stuff about yourself on here right away. Your website is a little bit different than a lot of our websites, I think, because yours actually is kind of just like one long landing page. Would that be? And then you just kind of scroll down. So whenever you click these things at the top, it just takes you somewhere. I think that you have all of the base stuff that you really need. You have testimony in here. I think that that's good. Giving some people that are looking for you like to read, reviews and that kind of stuff. And that's in there at the bottom. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then including you have 5 videos on your site.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's too many. I think a lot of us, whenever we literally put every video on the website, and I haven't watched through them, but I think that that's good to curate the types of video, especially on your website. Like YouTube, put kind of everything on there, at least if you're interested in shooting it, but your website should be your very, very best stuff and the kind of work that you want to shoot. I've said this before on the podcast where we didn't want to shoot Catholic weddings anymore, so we quit putting them on their website. And the next year we went from like half of our weddings to Catholic to like 3 or 4 the next year. So curating your website through videos that way, I think is good. John, do you got anything you want to add in here?
Yeah, for the listeners, just if you're wanting to check out her website, and we'll post it. It's just
Monika Garland,
MonikaGarlandProductions.com. Monika with a K. Garland, like Christmas. MonikaGarlandProductions.com. When you jump on the site, she's got her name at the top, and then a menu, home, about, packages, portfolio, testimonial, and contact and investment. So you click on any of those, and it just slides you down to different parts of the website. What I'm seeing, what I would like to see a little bit more of is more of your personality. I see the about where it's like you're Monika, the one behind the camera, that's really cool. There's one picture of you looking at the camera, which is great. For me, I'm moving more towards like almost telling people to get photo shoots done of them with their camera, or get a couple and get some photos of you doing work, and just infusing more and more of your personality, because the more you can explain who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, the more you're going to attract and repel the wrong and right kind of client. So that stood out to me. The videos, I did watch the teaser at the very top. It's really great. I think for your first year, really impressive looking. So
thank you.
Color was pretty good and everything. There's things to fix, but for what it is, it's pretty great. The other thing I would talk about when looking at the website, Nick, what are your thoughts on the fonts, the choices for fonts and stuff like that?
Okay, yeah, I would.
Because Nick is like the resident font guy. He's like, oh, this is a serif font, and this is and I'm like, this font looks good. What do you think? So.
Okay, truthfully, so you are using a serif font on your website for most of it.
I didn't even know that.
Okay, that's like on your M, like the little, how it kind of hangs over the sides at the top. That's a serif, like those extenders. And a sans serif, they don't have those. So you have serif, and the serif fonts are a little bit more high-end looking, in my opinion. I don't care for your buttons with that cursive.
Yep, that's the main thing.
I think that's one of those things that we think looks kind of high-end, but I think it looks a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
So
would you just keep them all the same? Like the same font?
Yeah, well, what I would probably do is do all of your headings, like your name, and then kind of how you have it right now. You're like in the part with your pictures where it says ceremony documentary, that kind of stuff. All those highlighted ones, I would keep those that same bold serif font. For the other stuff, I would maybe. It looks like everything is bolded. I might keep that same font, but just unbold it for the general text. So then it kind of separate.
I know it's recorded, but I like notes.
No, that's good. For your buttons, I would probably just keep it white, but maybe use that same font there.
Okay.
To do that for at least for now. Yeah. I think that'd be a good starting spot. John?
So. I'm just always thinking about like what is the purpose behind everything on the website, and like the journey that you're taking someone on, and what is it leading people towards, and like, so for me, my goal is to get people kind of lost in my films and then reach out and contact me, and so contact me if they have the right budget and different things. And I'm also explaining to them without words, we do expensive weddings, and we love emotional weddings, and like, so no specific critique, but just having that in mind, for the listeners and for you, about like taking them through, and you're doing a good job, with there being a video, and then about you, and then the services, and here's your portfolio. And then I would almost rather see some more contact me, or like, let's do this thing, or between each of these. Instead of get an estimate, that kind of just feels a little salesy or something, instead of like, let's get in touch, or let's, something that's a little more personal than. Yeah. So that'd be something that I would say.
Yeah. And I would definitely put a call to action at the bottom of every single one of those. And maybe like in your videos one here, like you have your top two, then you put a call to action in the middle, and then two more, and then another one at the bottom. Also, this last video that you have, Emily and Chris, that one, I would recommend changing that thumbnail. Because in the description, you said the venue on the top of a mountain, and you're like trying to make a big deal of that, and then it's just her
a teddy bear,
reading a letter,
So
I would,
makes sense.
So I would either pull something of the couple, or maybe the venue on top, something that maybe pulls people in. Whenever you pick a thumbnail, try to think from the bride's point of view, and you were one, not too long ago, so maybe you can, remember that kind of thing. So what's going to draw people in, what's going to make them want to click on that thumbnail, that's what you should be thinking of as you're putting that stuff up there.
I have one final little thing that I'm noticing. Under your client love, where there's testimonials, these are great. I would almost try to have some kind of a background image besides black. That would be a good way to have either a photo of you, or like some type of something besides black. I don't know if the Wix site allows that or not, and that's why you just have one color. But like infusing more of just like you doing work, it being about you. It's Monika Garland Productions. They're hiring you. You're the difference, between the other guy that's charging what you're charging, and what you like. There just needs to be something, and we've said it, just this like sticky that is like making them be like, oh, she is a Harry Potter geek, or she's a this, or she, whatever it is, like put things out there that like give people a reason to remember who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, those kinds of things. So overall, though, I mean, again, if I just went to this site, I'd be like, yeah, it's a solid site. There's nothing that's majorly like, oh my goodness, like, let's fix this. When I click your contact us button, the Let's Connect page, you have, that you're starting out at $14.50. I would almost take off the travel within 30 miles included, additional travel fees. Like, I would just leave it at, you want it to just leave it enough to get people interested to reach out. And at your price point, I'm sure that a lot of people are reaching out. So that's not, but as you get more expensive, like this, just little details like the traveling within 30 miles of Lynchburg, Virginia included, additional fees will be calculated. It just feels like there's already going to be more cost, as opposed to like just giving them enough bait to like get them to talk to you. Because then if you can get them to talk to you, and they see that your personality's great, and you have a great, whatever, that's going to be where you can then say, yeah, 1450 is kind of where we start. This is what it is. Now we want to talk about like this medium option, which is what I really think is best for you, or, that kind of thing. So just a little bit more of that. And on the contact page, I do see another photo of you doing work, which is great. I don't know if like you said you're married, right?
Yeah.
Like even that, or do you have any kids or animals or anything?
We have a dog who's actually scratching at the door behind me.
Yeah, so like, just doing like a family shoot or whatever, and like talking about that, like I'm now a U.S. citizen. I hailed from Canada. I did this. Those kinds of things really just make you seem like a human. And brides, if you brides,
play up. You're like, I'm from Canada, so I'm very nice. Like,
I will be so polite to you on your wedding day.
I'm so kind, and I say the word beg, and sorry.
Sometimes,
Sorry. Sometimes. So that's my thought.
I again, for someone in your position, I think this is a great site. As you do this a little bit more and more, and you elevate your brand and stuff, I would recommend probably hiring someone out to do your website. But I know where you are now, like building that up, that might not be possible. But I think you definitely have great foundation for moving forward. So,
okay, cool.
Solid.
Any follow-up questions before we move on to the next thing?
No.
Okay.
That answered it. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So going off of what you mentioned in the first video about color correcting, things to improve on, that would be my next question is, like I told you guys before we started, first weddings, things like that, getting going, auto was my best friend. And I'm learning now, clearly that's not going to help me elevate my videos. So taking the steps to learn more about having proper white balance, color correcting, exposure, all those things. So I know LUTs are a big thing, kind of like Instagram filters. Everybody loves them or hates them. So what would you guys recommend in terms of, should I be using them, how to improve my color grading, things like that?
Okay, so first off, when it comes to white balance on the wedding, obviously the best thing that you can do for any color correction is get it as best as you can in camera. That will help you. So do you have a good understanding of when to use what white balance and what kelvins? Do you have an idea with that?
Kind of guessing, very elementary.
Okay. So here's the thing about color. Sunlight is actually very, very blue. Okay, on the Kelvin scale, and candlelight is, very, very orange. And so how our cameras are made is they're like that scale, but inverted. So when you turn the number down, it makes your image cool to offset, if the room is, about 3000 Kelvin, you put your camera at 3000 Kelvin. So then it makes it look right. Okay. Yeah. So, a good starting point, if you're in natural sun, put your Kelvin around 6,000. Okay. In natural sun, and you can go even warmer than that, but that's a good ballpark. And as you're learning, one thing that you could do is flip your camera to auto white balance really quick to kind of, if you just can't figure it out, get a gauge and then put it at Kelvin. And the reason that we suggest shooting in Kelvin is because if you're on auto white balance, like it will shift, the color will shift frame to frame depending on if it's windy, if the clouds move, if sun, all those kind of things. Yeah. So that's a good starting spot. And then when you're indoors, we would recommend around 3,000, 3,200 is a good starting spot. Whenever you do that. And if you have lights, if you don't have lights, you should put that on your list of things to get. Yep. Okay. Whenever you are in the reception and especially dark, make your lights as orange, as tungsten as possible. Because typically, the room is dark and then the orange kind of fits in with the mood. And then again, make your image a little bit bluer on the Kelvin scale to even it out. Okay, John, did I cover that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the basics of camera stuff. And I will just say to you and to the listeners, the dozens of listeners out there, I haven't done that one in a long time.
No, we haven't.
So is that I was charging $10,000+ for weddings on auto white balance up till this year. And so although it's making people like Kaylin Rome really cringe if they're listening, it is one of those things that like when in doubt, auto white balance is better than getting it completely wrong. And so like theory behind it, I just, with doing the podcast and like really getting time with Nick and like understanding more and more about color, it's like it's not as scary on the wedding day as you think, but it just takes some practice. So maybe go out with your camera, not on a wedding day, and just like mess with temperatures and like inside mess with temperatures, the Kelvin temperature and things like that. But my advice, I think, would be controlling as much of where you're putting your subjects, especially during getting ready stuff. If you're, in a lot of times, like I did a wedding this last weekend and there's one window, and instead of having her get ready there, we actually pulled her, outside of the bride getting ready room underneath a covered patio and like had her do some stuff outside. And so it's like, as the video person, if you're not happy with the way the light is, the more confident that you get, you can just say, hey, when we're almost done with this makeup, can we go over out here by this window? Or, hey, can we turn these lights off? And so like mixing lighting, if you have an overhead light and then you have a lamp and then you have a window or something, and it's just like 3 different colors of light, and then you're on auto white balance, your camera's just going to be like, I don't know what to do. And so it won't look super good. So the more that you can really try to, control which direction light's coming in, creating different types of feels with different kind of lights. I mean, that's the art behind it, instead of just a bright light on their face, turning them sideways, getting some of these kinds of things. Then, like Nick is saying, if you're indoors, it's lower to the 3,000 range usually. I still will go into a room most of the times and turn it on auto and see what it says, and then kick it back over to Kelvin and just be like, okay, I know that it needs to be. The reception I was at this last weekend, it was like there's windows all around, but they have tungsten lights overhead, so it's just not the best. And so like I was like, what do I even in it? Like the camera was reading somewhere around 4,000, 4,200, and I put all my cameras for the ceremony on that. And so the main thing that other thing is if you have multiple cameras, especially during the ceremony, matching those all together, so that way you're not super green or something on one angle or super warm and then the other two, and it's just really hard to fix in post. Right. So, but it's not as hard as it sounds to just get in there and kind of mess with it.
Yeah, and I was doing that auto and then flipping it back. So yay, proud of myself.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good start. And then John, did you mention, especially in getting ready, turn off overhead lights if you can. The mixed lighting that makes the color correcting a bear. To try and fix. So
and just a little quick tip: don't just walk in a room and turn off lights. Ask them if it's okay, real fast, and warm people up to the idea of like, hey, in a second, can we move you over here by this window? It's going to look the best. And if like a lot of the country clubs that I do weddings at, the men's locker room doesn't even have windows in it. So it's like the guys getting ready. I'm like, hey, let's go over here, groom, and let's
over here, right?
Like that kind of thing where it's like taking the liberty to just decide, hey, the light is best here. Obviously, you can't control the ceremony most of the time, but I mean, that's the thing for me is like just being willing to stand up to whomever and say, hey, I really want to do this over here. Can we try this? And most people are like, sure, yeah, that'd be great. So,
yeah. Okay.
So what about the LUTs and color grading?
Okay. So, I am fortunate enough that my wife actually does all of our color and she's really good at it. But here is a big common misconception that people have, that you film your wedding and a LUT will fix my footage. Okay, all I have to do is apply it. There's actually to the coloring process, there are actually 2 technical parts. You have the color correction. When color correction is, setting exposure, setting white balance, getting everything to look how it's supposed to look. And then you have the color grading, which is adding the LUT on top of it. Okay. So, like for my wife, what she does is she applies the LUT whenever she's ready to start coloring. And then she goes in and she manually adjusts each clip after she applies the LUT. So it's not as easy as people, I think, want it to be. You still have to go in there and correct it and get the image looking right. The suggestion that I have to you, and I know that this is a real visual thing, but maybe look up, on YouTube or, that's probably the best place to go and learn your scopes on your editor. Okay. And basically, you know how audio has a waveform, like color has a waveform too. So if you can kind of learn that and get it, you know, what's crushing your blacks or what's blowing out, or, you know, where skin tones lie and, you know, like that kind of stuff. If you can kind of get a grasp of those things, then that should help with that process.
Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. So the other thing I wanted to point out too, and we talked about this with Kaylin on the podcast recently, is just about like having an external monitor. Small HD, the one that I'm using, the one that's on my camera right now, for a couple $100, like the Small HD. What is this one called? Nick, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
You're the one that has it. I don't have one.
It's $200 or $300 right now. They have the bigger one that's like the massive screen, but I got that one, like the whole kit and everything, for like under $300. And it's changed every bit of the way I film on a wedding day. It just looks more cinematic on that screen. I can see it better. And you can just dive into the cut. Like you can match it to the actual color, and you can do a lot more with the screen. Yes, Nick.
Yeah, and with those screens, a cool thing is you can do this thing called false color. Mm-hmm. And what false color is it like your skin tones are supposed to be, let's say, kind of in this teal range. Okay, so you flip on false color, and if your skin, it looks fine on your regular monitor, but when you do false color, and then you can see that it's like purple instead of teal, then you know that you need to adjust your settings so they can get skin tone in the proper range, you know, of that. So false color is a really cool thing. It also has focus peaking and all sorts of stuff to let you know you're in focus. So I don't use one. John just grilled me earlier and was like, dude, you need to get one of these. Maybe we will someday.
Here's my thought before we move on, and I'm done after this, is take it slow and know that like most of your brides aren't going to really notice. It's a gradual thing. I mean, obviously you see something like Forestry Films, or you see Ray Roman, or you see some of these people and they're killing their color. They're doing and it does become part of their brand. But as you're, you know, going, like, I wouldn't feel overwhelmed. Like, okay, I've got to go buy a monitor. I've got to learn scopes and I've got to do this. Like getting it in camera is going to make a significant, you know, increase in the value of your films. And so just the fact that you're playing with Kelvin already and doing those kinds of things, if you're just thinking about, does the light look good on this shot? You know, I didn't ever even think about that for years when I got going. I mean, and so it was just like, yeah, I'm filming wherever the bride's getting ready. She's in a bathroom. Cool. The light's terrible. This is her getting ready stuff. Instead of just being like, hey, I put a chair over here. Can you fix some stuff by the window? You know, different things. So if you're listening to this, or for you, Monika, like, just take it easy and know that like it just takes time. And continue to like try to get a little bit better with each wedding you shoot, and then you look up and it's like secondhand to you. Like, I don't even think about the Kelvin settings anymore. It's like I know what I'm doing, and we're matching, and the color for our films has gone way up and looks so much better. Still working on it, still know I can get better, but like it's not a make or break for your business at all.
Yeah. So going off of that, kind of how you said, like, take it slow, gradual, like it'll come to you. I feel like I want to take the next step and keep making my videos better. Obviously, everybody does. But I felt like when I watch my videos, and like I'll show my husband because he's the one who's playing Xbox behind me when I'm editing. I'm like, can you watch this? Cool. Like, tell me what you think about this. And he's like, I don't know, it looks fine. And I'm like, really? Because I'm bored. And like, I'm watching my videos and I'm like, this is boring me. And I know my brides like it and they're happy with it and whatever. It's their wedding day, so they're happy. But I want to be like kind of pushing myself to make more engaging and interesting and compelling videos. So how would you sort of make that leap? Well, not leap, but gradual steps, because I don't want to all of a sudden change my style. And one day my bride's like, wait a second, I hired you for your slow motion gimbal shots, not your whatever static shots that are totally different than what I'm used to seeing from you.
One thing that I might recommend would be, if you're wanting to shift your style just a little bit, maybe do like an Instagram teaser or a short teaser that you don't promise them, that you're like gifting them, and then maybe change the style a little bit on that one, and then put both of your work out there. And after a while, you're going to find couples are going to gravitate towards one or the other.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to shift your, 5-minute films to maybe being more like the Instagram ones, or people like, oh, I really appreciate what you did, but I want, this more elegant, whatever kind of style. But then at least you'll have your answer of what it seems that people are wanting from you. So that might be a good way to get your feet wet and doing something a little bit different, offering something that you're not promising them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then marketing, I feel like I've been able to get a lot of referrals and things like that. That's great, but I want to try to figure out where I should be advertising, how I should be advertising. And I listened to your podcast about Facebook, and that was like a whole download of information in my brain. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, I still am digesting new parts. So what would you recommend starting, like for the very first advertisement ever for a videographer? Where would be a good place to start?
Would you like me to answer that one, Nick?
You can answer it. I'll say Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
But you can answer it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best marketing is word of mouth, and that's getting other brides to talk about you to their friends. That's number one.
That's my answer. That's my real answer.
So, like, for real, though, the 15 or 16 people, and it's harder when you're first getting going, because if you've been doing these really budget weddings, it's going to attract more budget weddings. But if you think about 2019, there was probably one or two that would have been what you would consider like your best weddings, like the nicest ones. Reaching out to them and just saying, hey, I'm really wanting to grow this. It's kind of a very on the ground kind of marketing, just like one step at a time, marching kind of thing, where it's like just reaching out to them, seeing if they know anybody that's engaged, offering them some kind of an addition to their film, like an upgraded length or a hard drive with the footage for helping you connect with anybody. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where it's like Facebook and Instagram ads are great. And I love them, which I would recommend, like Nick is saying, but like just the people that have worked with you, that love you, getting them to share your films or tell their friends about you, that's the first place I would be going. And then the vendors that are at these locations or at these weddings, just reaching out to them, sending them your updated pricing for 2020. I've been really contemplating this like 1 hour a week kind of thing, where it's like 1 hour a week you're investing into one vendor in your community, like 1 cup of coffee a week with somebody that you're just getting to know them better. Like it's just 1 hour a week. I think if you did that for 52 weeks, at this time next year, you'd be blown away with like the referrals and everything you would get. And that would be like $5 a week. Nick was going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, I think that as you're first getting started, especially, we don't realize the power of networking, like John was saying. And people refer who they like to work with, not who is the best.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay. So, and I'm not trying to slam you or anything, but if you build a relationship with someone, they're more likely going to refer you than if you're a jerk and you have the best work in the area, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So spending time with them, one thing that we do, kind of every now and then, especially when we work with a new vendor, is making a short, 15 to 30 second little video clip, and just, of the florist, of the makeup person, whatever, and just send that to them, is say, hey, use this for your Instagram or Facebook or whatever if you want to. If not, that's fine as well. But you're just doing something nice for them. So if it comes up and they ask for a referral, your name is probably going to come out of their mouth.
Yeah.
I have thoughts, but I want to make sure, Monika, do you have any thoughts off of that or any questions about ways to do that?
No, that sounds great. Would you just kind of like send an email and be like, hey, I'm looking to connect with vendors in the area. Would love to take you for a cup of coffee.
I would just,
I was going to say, I would do it, something like that. But also one of the things, whenever we had Becca Niebluck on a few weeks ago with her podcast, she was like, I don't like the idea of networking with people to like get something out of it for me, you know, but if you're like, hey, I'm trying to build relationships in the community, hopefully we can work out something to refer each other, but just having friends with people that you're going to work with regularly and getting to know that community and stuff, that's really powerful too. Yeah. And so I would recommend, kind of setting it up. Hey, I really want to get to know you, the people in this industry and that kind of stuff. Maybe frame it that way would be a good way to go about it too.
And I would even say too, like a lot of the girls in our community will be like, hey, we're doing like a wedding vendor lunch on the first Tuesday of the month or whatever. We're going to, and there's things like that are going on probably in your community. And if not, like just reaching out to a photographer you liked, or it's like, hey, me and a couple of the girls are going to go to happy hour. We're going to go whatever, like just go hang out and just make friends with people that are in the industry. That's what Nick is saying, and it doesn't need to just, it doesn't need to feel like a businessy email. It just needs to feel like, hey, I'm Monika, I'm cool, and I would love to like get to know more people. I love weddings, and you do such a good job. I'm a big fan, whatever. Or it was fun working with you. Would you want a couple of us are getting together and going to go eat sushi, or we're going to go whatever, And so those are the kinds of things where it's like the more you get to know those kinds of relationships, now you're front of mind. That isn't an investment that pays off usually in week 1 or 2 or 3 or, but if you're out there and, 6 months of doing, just getting to know people and being like a happy, friendly face that, you're always marketing no matter where you're at. And so after 6 months, you're getting referrals from things like that, and so the more weddings that you're at, the more people you can connect with, and you're always building that. And so now, like in my community, most every vendor that's been around for at least 2 or 3 years, I've worked with and have a good relationship with. And so now I'm top of mind whenever someone mentions, do you need a videographer? So.
Yeah, awesome. I emailed you my packages. I don't know if you want to like look through that and just give any feedback about what you see there.
I'll let Nick look at that real fast while I finish one more thought. On the Facebook and Instagram ads, I do think that they're valuable 1,000,000%. I mean, I think that especially for somebody getting going, if you're not in Max Sadek's group, Marketing for Wedding Pros, I would look that up. He posts all kinds of things. I think you can type
marketingbymax.com and it takes you directly there. Marketingbymax.com.
Yeah, and in Facebook, it's just called Marketing for Wedding Pros. So either way, but he has all of these videos about how to do different ads and do different things. But yes, I mean, it's a great platform, Instagram and Facebook being a great place to, show off your videos, stay in front of people. To me, a lot of people boost a post and think that they're going to get like a bunch of weddings from that. And you need to actually have like a strategy, which is I'm going to run ads for 3 months. I'm going to spend $100 a month. I'm going to target these kind of people and retarget these kinds of people, those kinds of things. And you can make it where it shows up in Lynchburg, Virginia only, or, so you can really reach a lot of people in your market. But if you think about you being on Facebook, if you saw a wedding film once, you might have seen it when you're standing in line at Starbucks. And it's like, what was the name of that person? How do I? And so there's a lot of strategy behind creating content that they might want to click and download a PDF or a thing and get them in the. So there's a lot of strategy.
That's what overwhelmed me was like, you can't just hit go and advertise. Like you have to come up with all the steps, which that was my goal for this time of year. Now that I don't have as many weddings to work on, kind of work on that strategy side of it.
Even just having a video, I know Max talks more about like there's a lot of people that don't put they're engaged on Facebook and stuff, but like even if all you did was put your best video out there and said, mention this for X amount of dollars towards your wedding film by Monika, and it's like it's a video that plays, there's some link to your website, and you decide to put $5 or $3 a day for 90 days, you're probably going to get some people reaching out to you because of that. And so if you make $2,000 off of an $100 or $150 investment in ads, like most likely that's worth it every time. And so again, with Facebook ads, nobody's going to just start out and be like, okay, I've got it all figured out. So learn that. That is a great place because Facebook owns Instagram. And so like, it's a great place to like put money, but I wouldn't just, here's $20 to boost a video. Nothing happened. Yeah. So thinking
How
it
much
through.
would you recommend like the starting price? I know everybody's company budgets are different, but what would be like a reasonable to dedicate to it?
I think that whenever we talked to Max, he said that somewhere between 6 and 9% of your annual money should go into marketing, advertising. I mean, but so you could take that and you're like, okay, I'm going to just do, let's say 6%. So every time you book a wedding, you dog, 6, earmark 6% of that $1,500. Did I say that right? I did.
You just said you dog.
6% of that $1,500 goes to marketing. So now you have whatever that is for the next month.
$25 to $50 a month for a few months just to kind of see. I mean, for somebody that's new, and I agree, like you should be investing like overall in your company somewhere 6 to 10%. That can go towards lunches with people or bridal shows or things like that. But like I have found over the years, the best paying clients are the ones that come from referrals. It takes time to build relationships with those people and not come across salesy to them. And so just getting to know people and just being a cool person, taking your time, not trying to like come into your market and be like, I want to do all the biggest wedding. Like you're not there yet. You're not ready for that. And so like take advantage of the bigger ones that you do. With people that you want to work with, and then really start building those relationships. But if you put together some kind of a $25 to $50 a month kind of for December, January, and February, I'm sure that like you would know way more in 3 months about Facebook ads. And that's the way to do it. It's just like with color correcting, just like with, it's like you got to start taking steps. Nobody's going to start and be like, I have this full strategy of all the things I need to do for Facebook. And so just take your time and like, you're going to like look at it as like you're going to burn $150 if it doesn't do anything. But if you're going to spend $50 a month and just like work on it and learn the product and see what works and get going on that way. Because some things work in different communities than others.
And another thing I want to add too when it comes to marketing is I think you are in a unique spot that you do have a full-time job. So the money that you're bringing in, I don't know what you're doing, but it's, you're not depending on life to live off of it, right? Because you have a full-time job. And I remember when we had David from Forestry on a few episodes ago, he was like, if I could go back and start over, he was like, I would have a part-time job and only take the types of weddings that I want. Yeah. And so, because what you're going to realize is a couple of years in, you're like, okay, this is the type of wedding I want, but I've only shot 2 of them and I have so many of these other ones. And so it's kind of hard to make, to right that ship. So maybe because you have this full-time job, you can maybe be a little bit more selective in the weddings that you take. Because you're now going to have, you have 17 under your belt after 1 year. So it's not like you have some samples, you have that kind of stuff. So from a marketing standpoint and a branding standpoint, that can be really good, moving forward, to do that. So,
and then just one more thing, which months would you recommend? Like you said, December, January, February, like 3 months. Would you say, based on your experience, when do you get the most inquiries and engagements? Like when would be the time?
December, January, February. Okay. Like the more, I believe it's something like over 50% of people in a year get engaged from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Wow.
Like it's if
you think about it,
vast majority.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like when I listened to the episode in the summer, I was like, well, I don't want to do that now. There's less engagements happening. So I just kept procrastinating, and now's the time to learn it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it is the time to like really have everything in order for 2020. And really start pushing so people know that you exist, because again, people that are getting engaged, the majority of the people that are engaged for next year haven't gotten engaged yet. Like they're about to be right after Thanksgiving, and Christmas and New Year's and all the romantic time, it's like Valentine's. And so having all that set up and ready to go, so exactly what you're doing by that time. Like then maybe you push $100 a month starting in March, and like if you spent $1,200 in 2020, $100 a month, and it booked you one wedding in the whole year, it would more than pay for itself. And so it's just one of those deals where you just don't want to be wasting the money, and it's always an ever-changing algorithm, and so like you have to kind of stay up with it and know what's going on. And then in the middle of all that, if you're building relationships and spending 1 hour a week getting some coffee with somebody, or doing a lunch, or that's where it's going to over 6-12 months. You're going to be like, wow, my calendar's so booked, and I'm, you're not having a hard time booking right now, but it's like you can raise your prices and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free. As I am looking at your packages, you have 3 of them: $14.50, $17.50, $22.50, right? Mm-hmm. My initial response, and just looking at the prices, there is not enough money difference between each. Like $300 jump isn't very much. Out of these, how long have you had this package system?
A month.
Okay. Have you booked any weddings from this one?
No.
Okay.
Yes, one.
Which one did they book?
$14.50.
Okay. I would recommend taking off the professional editing and the professional audio recording in each one. Like, I think most people are thinking, well, shouldn't I get that anyway?
Okay.
Would be one. I also recommend don't do a minute range.
Okay.
Just because I've said this before, you put 3 to 5 minutes, you're thinking, well, as long as it's 3 minutes, and your bride is thinking, well, I'm getting a 5-minute film.
Yeah.
So when she gets one that's shorter, she's upset. Right. So maybe split the difference and just say a 4-minute film, whatever. And that does more to save you. I'm not sure that you need to list the number of cameras either. It could be, I don't know if this would happen, but it might, someone wants that middle package and they're like, well, how much would you knock off if I only wanted 2 cameras?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, not giving people, that out, something like that might be a good thing to consider. So, John, do you have any?
I have lots of thoughts. I'm the guy that loves looking at this, but I just want I don't want to interrupt. So, I can go.
The strategy behind like $22.50? Would you recommend it just being not 50? Like, is there any psychology behind that?
I mean, I think that there is, doing a 50 or doing a 99 or 95 or something like that a little bit, but
I think the 50 feels expensive. I like it personally.
Okay.
That's just me. I mean,
John
it's
likes
like
it.
If it said 99, it would feel salesy. If it said 97, like people say the number 7, I honestly don't think it's make or break for a wedding video business in its early stages like that. So the $50 I think is fine. Personally think it's fine.
My thought is with this, you have cinematographer. I get that we're trying as an industry to change the lingo and how people think of it, but your normal bride, she doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
Like they're searching wedding videographer. They're not searching cinematographer. They're not searching filmmaker. They're searching videographer. So I might, clean that. I might change that to one videographer just so there's no confusion at all.
Yeah.
Mine says cinematographers, just so you know.
Okay. Mine did, and I got a lot of questions, so I changed it. So here's my you put yourself when you make pricing, put yourself in the bride's shoes, not in your shoes, right? So and it seems to be in all my conversations that brides are concerned with hours of coverage, and they really want their ceremony edit beforehand. So I think that you have a. You don't have the ceremony in that middle package, do you?
No, just the highest one.
Just the highest one, and then you have that in the base. Okay. So I'm wondering if maybe you take your base one and you drop that to 6 hours. Because you want to push people to that middle package.
Yeah.
And so because this one has 8 and this one has 8, they're getting a longer film, but a lot of times beforehand, that's not as much of a concern to them. So I might drop that one to 6 and, do, the 1 minute social, or just leave the social media off and do 6 hours, one shooter, 4 minute film.
Yep.
And when I was listening to the last podcast, that's exactly what I was thinking of doing, was taking off that 1 minute edit. So, okay.
So John, I'll let you hop in.
All right. So
tag team.
All right. I'm it. Okay. So your names of your packages, platinum, gold, and silver. I don't hate that by any means at all. I agree with Nick that, like, your silver package that's $14.50 should barely include 6 hours, one shooter, 4 minute film, done. I would then, instead of having $17.50 be my gold, I'd probably bump it to $19.50. And then, like, either 8 hours with one shooter, a 7 minute film, a 1 minute social media trailer, that kind of thing, where you're getting a social media trailer, you're getting 2 more hours, you're getting a longer film, like you're pulling through with different items like that, being $19.50 and then maybe $24.50 for the top one. Either that or even starting a little higher than $14.50. I've watched your films and I know Virginia a little bit, with the market. I personally think you could start out easily at $19.50 for your silver if
Wow.
Depending on if you're, how many did you say you have booked for next year?
So I have 9 booked through myself, and then I have 11 booked through a photographer who adds video to some of his packages.
So 9 plus 11? Yeah, I'd be raising my prices.
So you have 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
that's where we see a lot is you're at this price, so you are booking a lot, and then in a year from now when you have 15 in your backlog because you have a full-time job too, you're like, the amount of editing that I am doing does not monetarily, it's not equal.
Yeah, you're not in your shoes 10 months from now, and if you fast forward because you haven't even been in business for that long, it's like for 10 months from now you're looking at, you've shot 15 more weddings, you're that much better, and you're listening to this podcast, you're in our group, you're taking, you're going to workshops, you're doing all this stuff, you're investing in better gear, you bought some lights since then, you have different microphones. That's who you're, and as you've already gotten 11 here with a photographer and 9, I mean, it's like you have to look at quality of life and like how many do you want to shoot, and if your max is 30, then like with a full-time job, that's a lot. I mean, my max I want next year to be 20, and I'm just like 20, and so but like saying that will help you be okay with knowing that not everybody, like, you don't want people at a certain point that can only afford your $1,400 package. Not that it's not like they deserve a good wedding film or anything like that, but you should always be trending upward in your pricing because you're getting better every time you shoot a wedding.
Yes.
Like every single wedding you do, you have one more day worth of experience, so you are more valuable. And so to an extent anyway. I mean, I'm starting to get like, a peak, and then I'm getting less valuable because I'm getting old, but no. But yeah, I mean, so I would look at starting $19.50 or $17.50 for the very basic one, and then, bumping it by $500 or more to get up to the next one, and then $500 to $1,000 more, because you really want people, you want to hear people say it's out of my budget. Like, that's okay. And I know you feel like you're new, but like, it's okay, especially since you already have 20 and a job already. So it's like, what if you say yes to somebody on May 20th for $1,400, and then somebody sees your film in February with your ads and whatever, or you have a planner friend that's like, tell me you're available on May 20th. And you're like, no, I'm sorry, I've got a $1,400 2 shooters for 8 hours or whatever it is, and so you have to kind of play this. Once you hit a certain number, which my number, was 10 weddings. That's when I jacked my prices up even more. And so playing with that with your prices as well, I know with the quality of what you're doing, that you shouldn't have a hard time. If you're confident in it, brides will just be like, yeah, that's just what it costs. And so some people, the people that you're probably wanting to repel will say, oh, I only have, $1,200 for my video budget. But the ones that have $2,000 or $3,000, imagine a world where you get paid $3,000 to do the wedding film. It's like, oh, I like that better.
It's funny because I had a bride email me yesterday and she was like, hey, really hope you're available this date. I have a super small budget for my wedding. Please tell me you're available. And I was like, okay, well, what's the date and what is this small budget? And she was like, $2,200. And I was like, oh, that would be my biggest package.
Right.
It's all relative and it's interesting.
It definitely. So. And as you're booking a good rule, maybe every 2 or 3 weddings, raise your prices somewhere between $100 and $300 is a good way to, you might still book up really fast, but at least you're making a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because future you, when you film that wedding, is going to be better than current you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So then my next question would be, like you were saying, 20 weddings for next year, full-time job, husband, dog, I'm probably going to hate my life again next year, kind of like I did this year with 17 weddings. So Wedditor, that was something that was super interesting to me. Kind of wondering, should that be something I consider? How many weddings would you recommend I do through them? What would the cost be? I know I should probably reach out to them, but I know you guys are here talking to me, so I can maybe get some insight from you.
Yeah.
I think that you will love your life if you have an editing partner. And their whole goal is to actually almost like they are a part of, Monika Garland Productions. It's like they're just, there. So in the perfect world, they'd be like, if we partner, we're doing 100% of your work. I know they know that doesn't always work, but even if you have someone that you've partnered with and you send them 10 of your 20 for next year, then how many, that frees up 400 hours of your time, in the year where someone else is editing it and you don't have to do that, just frees up time. So, and then here's another cool thing. You say, okay, I have this vision to go full-time eventually. Well, maybe as you're figuring it out and you already built it into your packages, to have them edit. So then when you make this full-time jump, you're already spending that money and you've kind of already calculated it in so that they can go ahead and take so many edits from you. But, it's definitely something that I would reach out to them now if you are interested in outsourcing to give you a better quality of life, because they will learn your style, they will edit for you and they're very open to the critiques and getting it just like how you want it. John, what do you got?
So I agree with Nick. Wedditor, they do a ton of my films. I love them. I would probably encourage you to say in 2020 to have them maybe edit 5 to 8 of your 20 weddings at the most, because you're so new. I think that you need to establish.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I think you need to establish your editing style a little bit better. And if all you're doing is sending them off, you're just going to get more cookie cutter if you don't have a specific. They're just going to do what looks nice, and you might say, "Oh, I really love moments that involve grandparents because I was close to mine, or I really, or whatever." And being at the wedding, you just know the feel of the couple a little differently. But there is nothing wrong with having someone help you, especially if you're working full time, and it gives you the ability to book more, and if that's what you love more. But I wouldn't wait until you're backlogged by 12 weddings to reach out to them. So that's why maybe you budget 1 wedding a month next year, which would be 12 weddings. They're going to range anywhere from, and I don't want to speak for their prices or promote necessarily, but 600, 700 and up would be kind of a range for a 6-minute film. They're different and it goes up or down. So don't quote me on that, but for those listeners, I'm averaging a little more than $1,000 per edit based on what I'm doing, but I'm also charging $7,500 for that wedding. So it's different because I need a different kind of edit. And so they're very good, Michael, over there. And if you go to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor, there's a promo code to get $50 off the first one. But that's the same thing with building that relationship. So once it does get busy, you're like, hey, I need to offload 3 weddings this month. but you've planned ahead for it and stuff like that. So I think it's a great thing, especially as you're getting going and you just need more weddings and stuff. Some of them, a lot of people send outsourcing to the weddings that they don't like or they didn't want to do. And so I would not encourage that either. I would encourage,
correct,
to get feedback from them. It could be a good way as a new person to say, what do you think looks good here? Asking them, since they are seasoned editors, they might make you better films that you can charge more. And so, one thing that I did too, and this was is just like a little like nugget for you, upselling length in your films. So if you're supposed to get like a 6-minute film, but if you tell the couple, man, your footage, we could get 8 minutes, you can usually offset a lot of the cost of Wedditor by selling like $400 for 2 more minutes of wedding film. And it's like the $800 edit now becomes, $500 or $300 or whatever. So like you can sell more to the couple and it can offset some of the and so I've done a couple where they were in the middle of editing and they said, hey, it's supposed to be 6 minutes long. We could definitely make it 8 or 10. So I told the couple, hey, it'd be $350 for every 2 minutes that you want to add. They paid $700 more. That covered the whole edit. And so, there's ways about doing that and budgeting it. So, yeah. Anyway.
Okay. This is the last question.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 practical gear things. Hard drives, like storage solutions, anything that you'd recommend? Because I've done, research on Amazon. Oh, this one's on sale, $20, but then all the reviews are terrible. And then lights, like you said, that's definitely something I should be adding. So your recommendation for sort of medium, not high end, not cheap, medium lights.
The lights that I would recommend for people starting out are the Torch LEDs.
Bolt? Is that what it's called? Torch Bolt?
The Bolt, Torch, something.
That's what I use at my wedding still. So.
Yeah. That's the light that I used for, I don't know, 3 years before we upgraded to the Practilights. They are small. I would recommend getting the one with the battery. And I think that's around $250, I want to say.
Okay.
I would probably pick up a couple of those if you can swing that.
Yeah.
So then you especially like during toast or something, then you have one for the toaster and one for the couple, like that kind of stuff. And then I found these great little I can't even remember, these cheetah light stands that whenever you pick them up, like everything collapses. So it has a real small footprint, and then you move it around and you set it down and it opens up again.
And Nick just did a video about the different kinds of lights. So on youtube.com/howtofilmweddings, it's a really awesome video where he like shows, and then there's links to all the different. But yes, the Torch, I think that's a great small compact light. It's a couple $100. Even if you do one for the first wedding, buy another one once you get, like some more money. Light stands are not super expensive. And just having those lights, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, how did I ever do this without these? And so, those kinds of lights for a while would be what I do. Buy some extra batteries to go with them. And like that kind of stuff. Watching the video on YouTube will really help for sure.
Okay. And then storage options.
You want me to tell you? Well, okay, so here's what I do. I have, is it called G-Raid? Is that what the brand is, Nick? Do you know that?
G something.
I bought like a really fast editing drive. So I have a current edits drive where everything that I am editing or have not yet edited, they live there on a fast drive. And then I bought like a Seagate 8 terabyte or whatever as an archive. And I usually have, my files are a little smaller still, but like, I usually buy a large, slow, cheap archive drive that is just everything lives on there. After I've edited it, all the final projects are on there. And then I also connect that drive to a service called Backblaze. I think it's $5 a month or $10. I forget what it is, but backblaze.com. And you connect that drive to your internet and it like auto backs up all of the stuff to the cloud that's on that drive. So my, 20 terabytes of whatever are uploaded and it rechecks like once a week and like, is always giving you the last 30 days of whatever you uploaded. And so that's a great way to store it on the cloud, keep it safe. And then the one that you're working on is the really fast one.
The fast one. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's my thought.
And what was the name of that? G-Raid?
I think so. Yeah, let me pull it up. I'm the tech people are like, come on.
Yeah. for your editing one, one thing, if you're, just doing one project at a time, if you can find I know there's tons of them out there now, like Samsung makes an SSD drive, and it could, depending on about what an average wedding is, make sure you cover that. But if you just put one wedding on it, this is my editing one, you can get them as low as like 500 gigabytes, which should cover a wedding for you. Edit that one, all on that one, so then you're not glunking up your computer, and then when you're done, then transfer over to your archive. But just make sure that you have everything where you can get to it. But that's another option if you don't want to put all of your editing on one drive to edit off of.
Okay.
And since storage is so cheap, like you can get like an 8 terabyte really cheap one for $100 or something now. Like I would recommend having the footage in two different, like on the web is great, but like having 2 archive drives where one you keep at like your in-laws house or something, just in case like something happened, an emergency, a fire, a robber or something. Like you just always it's like cheap is so storage that storage is so cheap that it just doesn't make sense not to have like backups. Right. I know that you said that was the last 2 things. Did you mention something in your questionnaire about wanting to know more about
John's light went out.
It did go out. I'll fix it here in a sec.
Now we match.
About microphones. Did you say something like you're only using a Zoom or something? Is that something you wanted to talk about before we got off of here?
Oh, that was for audio. Yeah, trying to figure out the best.
Don't mind me.
I use a Zoom H4n, and then the Tascam just put on the groom. I think I'm going to get another Tascam for the officiant, and then just wondering about ceremony audio, how to make sure it's the best, cleanest.
Yes, put one on the groom. Yes, put one on the officiant.
Is that the torch LED little ad?
Yeah, that is.
There it is. Okay.
This is also my butt. For those of you who are watching online.
Is this how to film weddings first?
No.
Oh no, this is not a first. Okay. This is not a first. Oh gosh.
What if I just the rest of the podcast up here? No, sorry. We're going so long. My battery died. Yeah. Wait. Let me.
Are you done?
And I'm back. Yes.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, so yes, I would put one on the groom. I would put one on the officiant. Yeah. Definitely. We mic all of our brides. That might be something that you might want to consider. John doesn't do that, but you being a lady, that's a little bit easier for you, I think.
Yes.
True.
In doing that. We use the Tascam DR10Ls for all of that.
Okay.
Yes, we plug into the board with our Zoom H4n. We still use an H4n. John, do you still use an H4n?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I recommend having an XLR cable and then adapters to whatever. So have a 1/4-inch adapter, have an auxiliary, the red and the white adapter. Also get in what are they called? Attenuator. John, do you know what it's called? Anyway, it's a little. He doesn't know.
See, that's what I was wanting to ask about, and I was scared to pronounce it. So I'm glad that you did.
I think that's what it is. An attenuator. Basically, it's a little thing that the XLR cable will go through, and you can knock the sound down by either 20, 30, or 40 dBs.
Okay.
So you definitely want to use those whenever you don't have a balanced line out. So, for instance, whenever you plug into the back of a speaker that might have an XLR, even if you put that H4 in, and you can go down to 0.1 volume, so it's below 1, that's even too loud sometimes. And so you plug that thing in, it'll drop at 40 dBs, so then you don't have to, so then you can fine tune it. Yeah, you really do.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
I would recommend all of that. Listen to our episode with Ryan Coda if you want to get some information about kind of where to plug in. A good thing to do would be to take your 1/4-inch. I'm getting a little technical. Take your 1/4-inch and actually plug it into the receiver, the wireless microphone receiver at the DJ booth. If you want to do this, though, you're going to have to talk to them and ahead of time, because that might not be the easiest thing for them to get to, like right there. So you might want to let them know that. A lot of them don't know. A lot of DJs don't know that you can actually do that.
Okay.
And so usually the back of a microphone receiver will have an XLR out and a 1/4 inch out. So you can plug into whichever one they are not using. But if they have a 2 microphone system, some DJs have their mic that they talk into and then one for the toasts.
Yeah.
Make sure that you plug into the one that's the toast mic, not their mic, because then you would be getting just what they're saying. And and the thing about doing that is that you only get what goes in the microphone. So you're not getting any of the music or anything like that. So it's just something to consider. I feel like I'm just dumping a lot of stuff.
It is a big dump you just took. Yeah, that was good. I have thoughts.
Go ahead.
Okay, so technically speaking, yes, that is all. Like that is a lot, and I feel like it's a little overwhelming. And what
probably was overwhelming.
I think it's good.
I don't think it's bad the whole time.
Listen back to it.
I feel like I'm doing 50% of that. So
but the thing that it comes
50.
down to, which is what I always am saying, and Nick is always saying, is like, we don't expect you to do all of this at once. And so you have one Tascam right now. I would 1,000,000% buy 2 more of those, and have one at least on the efficient and the groom. And then I would have a 3rd one that if you can mic the bride, great. But like in ceremonies that have a podium, instead of plugging into the board, you can just literally clip the mic or tape the mic onto the podium mic, and people talk right into it. So that's like a great. Or you go ahead.
Well, I was just say I don't know if you shoot a lot of Catholic ceremonies.
I don't.
Okay, well, I just know at least here a lot of Catholic ceremonies, it's really hard to plug into a board because it's like with the Catholic churches, the priests know how to turn it on and then that's it.
Yeah.
So having even recorders, like if you can't plug into the board, put your H4 in, and turn like the top part on, where it's just recording all of the sound.
Yeah.
So maybe put that by a speaker or something so that you can pick that up. Sorry, John, I interrupted you.
That's okay. The thing I was going to say is like with that 3rd Tascam, you can also drape that over the front of a speaker. And it records, 2 line levels at once, like 12 dB under and then a normal. So like it's just a really good backup to have that 3rd one. And audio is so important to the wedding day. Like that I always just have a Tascam in my pocket that's like, even if I've already mic'd the groom and the efficient, I walk into the bride's room and great grandma's about to pray and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a moment that I have to get. And like you just want to be prepared. And like I have 4 Tascams now. They're so cheap. And so like they do such a good job. You don't have to worry about wireless frequencies. And so like I put them in lots of places. And then at the reception, like what Nick was saying, plugging into the board, I always still personally just plug into, if they give me a line from the board, great. If not, I'll plug my Zoom into a speaker and like make sure that it's not peaking. But I always either put a Tascam on each one of the people speaking, or I bring a mic stand and tape a Tascam and the handheld, like the wireless mic, I tape it into the mic stand so they can't like take it out. And I will tape my Tascam just like right underneath the microphone so everybody that walks up is talking right into it. It's not as clean at all as plugging into the DJ's board because you're getting like ambient audio. When I sync it all up and I can hear the DJ's board versus the Tascam, it's like 1,000 times better from the DJ board. But I always just like having a minimum of 2 options when it comes to audio.
Yeah.
Like for the ceremony, for the reception, all the different moments,
Yeah, the putting the lapel and like taping it to the bottom of a mic stand. I don't mic up all of my people individually because I always do that as my backup.
Okay.
But I mean, literally, they're right there talking. And so if you do that route, it's a great route, especially if you start bringing in lighting. Then you can light the toaster, put them on a mic stand, get some gaff tape, and literally tape the DJ mic onto the stand so that people can't take it off because they will try and they will walk around and they will move. And then you know that you have that backup right there as well into the lav.
Do you normally bring a stand to your weddings?
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you just
I found
Google, I think, is that on your list?
Amazon's like a 20, it's like a $20 Amazon, like it's real cheap, but it works
and the
just
thing
fine.
that's going to make you be able to charge more, and we haven't talked once about your cameras or your lenses or anything like that, but if you can control light, if you can have good composition and framing, you can make sure that you're not overexposed, and then if your audio sounds really good, your films are going to be better than 99 out of 100 people. And so if you can get those things working, And if the plan is by, wedding season hitting next year in April to have purchased 2 torch lights, 2 more Taz cams, a light stand, like those little things like that are why you charge more, and that you're not thinking about currently that you're going to invest $1,500. So you're going to work an entire wedding to buy gear to do more weddings. And like, but investing into good light and good audio, those things aren't like drones where there's a new one necessarily that's coming out. It's like light is light and audio is audio. And so like microphones from the 80s are still usable, where it's like a camera from the 80s is like, a paperweight or in an antique mall. So anyway, that's the thought on audio. And like Nick said, Ryan Coda's episode goes a little bit deeper into that, but yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was so helpful. And when I found out that I was the winner who was selected, it literally was perfect timing, going through health problems, just all kinds of things. It was seriously a blessing. And you guys give great resources. Like I said, I feel like I can just listen back through all your podcasts and get all this great information, but it was awesome to talk to you. And like I said, I'm still starstruck. So thank you so much.
You heard it there, ladies and gentlemen. Someone was starstruck. It happened.
Yeah, definitely starstruck.
Well,
before
thank
we
you
get off,
so much,
where
Monica.
can people find you? We need to know where people can find you to see your work.
Sure. So you can go see my website, see it in a few days once I make those changes, Monika Garland Productions, and Monika Garland Productions on Instagram and Facebook as well, Monika with a K.
Love it. Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We really appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, Monika, for being on the podcast, letting us record your mentor session. Okay, we want you to head over to howtofilmweddings.com/mentorships. If you are interested in signing up for one of these, you can sit down with John and I over Google Hangout or something like that, and we will talk you through whatever questions you have about your business. If you're listening on a podcatcher like iTunes or Spotify, make sure you leave us a review so that others can find us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Join our Facebook group at facebook.howtofilmweddings.com. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.